going to see a clip. It's about 3.5 minutes. I'm going to ask everyone to watch it carefully. And it's a clip of Barack Obama, okay? And it's Barack Obama giving a commencement speech on Zoom. We're only going to see, I don't know, 3 minutes of it, something like that. And I want you to listen carefully because it's wildly important. It's important both what Barack said and what Barack didn't say, right? What he said and what's missing, right? And none of this is about a critique of Barack Obama as a person, right? Blessings to Barack Obama, who's just done, so many beautiful things on so many levels, right? And has gotten so much support. So I want to bless all the beauty that he's done, right? But this is not about Democratic. It's not about the best of the Republican Party, not the hijacked version of it that we tragically see today, right? And it's not about Barack Obama being right or wrong. Barack Obama is a complex figure, like all people are. So it's not about Barack. And Barack, I totally appreciate you signing up and letting us use your commencement speech, right? So this is total mad love, brother. Okay, this is both what you said, but what's missing. Because Barack Obama in this little talk incarnates, in a certain sense, what we might call the best of the liberal world, right? The best of Western enlightenment. And you see both its strength in Barack Obama, and you see its enormous weakness. So take us inside. Barack Obama, Barack, thank you, brother, and Mr. President. And thank you, and with huge honor for your service and huge honor for everything you've done. So we're going to critique you a little bit today, and I know as part of the values of Western enlightenment that you could not be more delighted. So take us inside. Barack Obama, coming at you. Thanks for coming.
So if the world's going to get better, it's going to be up to you. That realization may be kind of intimidating, but I hope it's also inspiring. With all the challenges this country faces right now, nobody can tell you, no, you're too young to understand, or this is how it's always been done. Because with so much uncertainty, with everything suddenly up for grabs, this is your generation's world to shape. If I'm one of the old guys, I won't tell you what to do with this power that rests in your hands, but I'll leave you with 3 quick pieces of advice. First, don't be afraid. America's gone through tough times before. Slavery, civil war, famine, disease, the Great Depression, and 9/11. And each time, we came out stronger. Usually because a new generation, young people like you, learned from past mistakes and figured out how to make things better. Second, do what you think is right. Doing what feels good, what's convenient, what's easy, that's how little kids think. Unfortunately, a lot of so-called grown-ups, including some with fancy titles and important jobs, still think that way, which is why things are so screwed up. I hope that instead you decide to ground yourself in values that last, like honesty, hard work, responsibility, fairness, generosity, respect for others. You won't get it right every time. You'll make mistakes, like we all do. But if you listen to the truth that's inside yourself, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, people will notice. They'll gravitate towards you, and you'll be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And finally, build a community. No one does big things by themselves. Right now, when people are scared, it's easy to be cynical and say, let me just look out for myself, or my family, or people who look or think or pray like me. But if we're going to get through these difficult times, if we're going to create a world where everybody has opportunity to find a job and afford college, if we're going to save the environment and defeat future pandemics, then we're going to have to do it together. So be alive to one another's struggles. Stand up for one another's rights. Leave behind all the old ways of thinking that divide us. Sexism, racial prejudice, status, greed, and set the world on a different path. When you need help, Michelle and I have made it the mission of our foundation to give young people like you the skills and support to lead in your own communities and to connect you with other young leaders around the country and around the globe. But the truth is, you don't need us to tell you what to do, because in so many ways, you've already started to lead. Congratulations, class of 2020. Keep making us proud.
Okay, so obviously, everyone catch that? Right? Obviously, right? There's a lot of beauty there, right? So yay Barack, right? So everyone gets to give him a big hand, okay? Like total fantastic. Now let's be in a democracy and let's take this the next step, okay? So I'm gonna put Barack aside for a second, President Obama, right? Big hand Barack. We just saw a clip of Barack Obama. And Barack Obama is talking about what the young generation, it's a commencement speech to high school students. And it's beautiful. And Obama's beautiful in all the ways that he is. But what's troubling about it? If you listen carefully, you notice that Obama says time and again, there is nothing that we actually have to give you. We don't have a transmission of values that are actually larger than they work, they last, right? We're the old people, right? We screwed it up. I'm the old guy. There's not a sense of, here are the shared principles backed by the universe that actually reflect timeless truths, right? Here's a sense of unique self. I don't feel, right? Feeling good, right, is equated, feeling good's equated with what's convenient and what's easy. Don't do what feels good, do what you think is right. So there's this split between thinking and feeling. Feeling is superficial, thinking is good, right? There's a sense of, on the one hand, you should listen to what's inside yourself because that's going to work. People are going to notice, they're going to gravitate towards you. Right, so it works. These are values that last, right? They're pragmatically, right, effective, but there's not a sense, and I want you to stay with me really closely, of the ultimate truth, right, of a shared tradition that I, Barack, as an elder, have to transmit to you, right? Actually, I'm not just the older guy. I'm not just part of the screw up, right? I actually, right, want to be giving you a transmission. I want to be actually an elder, and I want to share with you that actually there were great people who came before you, and they had a shared sense of value. And those values are rooted in ultimate realities. And that actually love is part of the story, and love is real, right? It's a real value of cosmos, right? And these values of honesty and hard work and responsibility, it's not just that they last and that people are going to notice you and gravitate towards you. It's actually, this is the structure of cosmos, right? That you're actually part of a larger story. And it's now your turn at this key point, right? Of course, to step into your leadership, and it's your turn to go the next step. And it's your turn to participate in the evolution of love that's been going on generation to generation. Because otherwise, what's the experience you have, right, as a young person? Right? Basically, all the previous generations aren't actually transmitting to me wisdom. I'm not actually receiving the perennial philosophy, which is the greatest shared truths known throughout the generations. I'm not, right, receiving the 15 common sense sacred axioms that a person actually lives by because they're actually reflective of a deeper and wider ultimate truth. I'm not participating in the evolution of love. I don't know that love is real. Right? You get that? And in other words, the liberal world thought that it could do away with the great mythic story of reality that we're participating in. Right? It could do away with, it could just rely on the kind of innate sense that there's the good, the true, and the beautiful. But actually, postmodernity deconstructed the good, the true, and the beautiful. That actually, right, we've got to show a young person that there's a truth that lives within you at a time when in the Oxford Dictionary, the word of the year in 2016 is post-truth, right? Post-truth becomes the word of the year. So if post-truth is the word of the year, how can, right, a high school graduate actually find the truth that lives within them? If there's no sense of self, right? I had the privilege of doing some very active involvement with one of the best liberal private schools in America, a high school. The kids from the, leading edge families, with the best faculty, right? Literally the bastion of liberal America. And I will tell you that those kids, right, had no idea, right, what the good, the true, and the beautiful were. As a matter of fact, they said to me, we don't even think we have a self. according to the science that we seem to be understanding, we're just a random collection of atoms and molecules. And there's actually nothing that we're ever obligated to do, because there can't be an obligation, because everything's purely subjective. And I follow the truth that lives in me, right, wherever it takes me, but no one can actually demand any truth from me, because that's actually wrong. And so I asked the entire, right, a huge part of the student body, not the entire student body. But I said, okay, Mother Teresa and Hitler, right? Mother Teresa and Hitler, that's a pretty obvious distinction. Who was right and who was wrong? And I will tell you that I would say more than 2/3 of this leading interested group of the student body said, you can't say objectively that one was more right than the other, because there's not a shared pool of truth, right? There's not a shared set of values that actually obligate us, right? There's not a demand for a nobility that's beyond my own subjective truth, right? There's not a transmission of perennial values that have been accessed by the most subtle and speculative minds. There's not a story of reality conspiring, right, to ever greater levels of love, to ever greater levels of truth, ever greater levels of beauty, ever greater levels of goodness. And actually a teacher in that school who had been there for 40 years said to me, right after this class, she said, when I came to this school, again, I won't name the school, the assumption was the good, the true, and the beautiful, the great triad of Plato. Now neither the faculty nor the kids have any genuine access to that innate value. They don't even know how to formulate it, that lives in cosmos, right? That anything that's an innate value is considered dogmatic, right? You have to actually, and the way the school teaches is, right? The way the school teaches is they actually facilitate in the school. They're little classrooms of 14, 15 people. And then students are asked, what do you think? What do you think? So a text is read and students are asked, well, what do you think? And what do you think? And what do you think? So instead of giving them any kind of transmission of actually, there's a set of certainties that we know. And I sat and I met with the faculty and I said to the faculty, right, you guys are teaching your uncertainty, right? Wow. Do you have any certainties? And they said, of course we have certainties, but we can't teach them because that would be dogmatic. So I literally went around the room, the best teachers at this best school, and none of them were transmitting any certainties of value, any certainties of goodness, of truth, of beauty, of the reality of love. Instead, they were facilitating the students, and everything the students said, that's really good. Oh, that's really good. Oh, that's fantastic. And I sat in a lot of classes. It was a complete collapse of education. Did you get that? So that's a very big deal. Now, President Obama is a beautiful expression of the old world of liberalism, but that's not going to take us home. The old world of liberalism has actually collapsed on itself because it's actually not standing for a vision in which there's noble obligation beyond yourself, in which you're called by cosmos to an intrinsic responsibility that's actually needed by all that is, where you can't actually experience reality saying to you, right, you're chosen, you're recognized, right, you're desired, you're literally needed by all that is, right? At that school where I taught, which reflects the best of these values expressed by President Obama, right, the overwhelming majority of the students didn't have a sense of self, right? Even a sense of a cohesive separate self was hard. They experienced themselves in these kind of dogmatic materialist scientific terms. They certainly didn't have a sense of true self, of dropping beneath separate self into the infinite field of consciousness. They fit all of themselves on a postage stamp, the most narrow, desiccated version of themselves. Right? To actually experience that I'm one with the field of consciousness, that I'm one with the larger field of outrageous love, and then to go from true self to unique self, right? That I'm actually an irreducibly unique expression of the love, beauty, and love intelligence of all that is, that lives in me, as me, and through me, that never was, is, or will be ever again other than through me. And as such, I have a unique perspective and I have a unique quality of intimacy that together comes together to foster my unique gift. And my unique gift is needed in my unique circle of intimacy and influence. And I join hands with other unique selves around the world to give that gift. And that is the very purpose of my life. That is the very joy of my life that was intended by all that is. And that my life's purpose participates in the larger purpose of cosmos. And the cosmos actually is a story, means there's a plot line, right? It has direction. Right, you get that? All of that was missing. So instead, right? And I apologize, and with great honor, President Obama. Instead, we got liberal plabum. And liberal plabum, right, doesn't cut it, right? Now, is what Barack Obama said true? Of course it's true. Is he elegant and beautiful? Yes, he's also a great dancer, right? He's a great guy. Hot damn, right? I'll spend a week with Barack Obama on an island. Sure. But that's not the point, right? Right? The point is the generations. The point is there's a rupture in the generations. I want to give you an idea enunciated by a sociologist named Will Herberg in the 1950s. He called it cut flower ethics. And cut flower ethics means you have a rose, and the rose is rooted, right, in the earth and the soil and the water. Then you cut the rose from the soil. So in the first generation, right, rose looks good, right? It's cut from the earth, but it's still second generation, rose is a little bit, right, a little bit. Third generation, fourth generation, the rose is dead. Right, you get that? In other words, we've cut the values of the good, the true, and the beautiful from their larger mooring in the intrinsic and inherent value of cosmos itself. So Krista asks, is there objective truth? Of course there's objective truth. And objective truth and subjective truth merge. They're the same, right? And that's my deepest inner subjectivity, right, is the larger field of shared truth. Now, there are unique expressions of that truth. So every religion can be a unique self in the unique self symphony. But there's a larger story. That which unites us is far greater than that which divides us, right? So here's an objective truth. Love is real. And I experience that objective truth in my own subjective interior. And the entire split between objective and subjective disappears. Of course it does. Are the good, the true, and the beautiful objective truths, right, that live in every subject? Of course they are. Now, does that mean that they're frozen in a particular generation? Does that mean that they don't evolve? Of course they evolve. Love is real, and we participate in the evolution of love. The good is real, and we participate in the evolution of the good. But knowing, right, beauty is real, and we participate in the evolution of beauty. Right? Truth is real, and we participate in wider and deeper truths. Right? So the great traditions tried to freeze frame truth, to objectify it, to divorce it from the subject, and to say that we own the truth and no one else does, and ours is better than everyone else's. So we rebelled against that. That was a good rebellion, and that birthed the liberal world. But then we lost touch, cut flower ethics, we lost touch with the larger field of the good, the true, and the beautiful. And the good, the true, and the beautiful is an ontological reality, right? The cosmos, right, is replete with value, and it's inherent and intrinsic value. And it goes all the way down to quarks and atoms and molecules, right, that are allured together to form larger wholes. And the cosmos has direction, has telos. I have such huge respect for President Obama, and I thank him for, allowing, and I'm sure he'd be excited, right, to hear the challenge. And I invite President Obama, right, who's been a mainstream figure and he's given his life to public service, right, in his way. I invite him to have a conversation about first principles. Let's reclaim first principles. Let's go deeper than a kind of shallow, insipid liberalism, right? You were right, Mr. President. The truth does live in us. We got to show that that's true. We got to ground that in interior sciences. We got to ground that, right, in a shared story. Right? Don't just be the old guy, right? Be an elder, right? Inspire us with the great conspiring of reality. Let's read wider and let's go deeper, right? Oh my God.